and then I guess they eventually settled on banning the cenotaph and still probably bringing like battleship setup anyway, just with a different flavor of battleship. So I do expect to see battleships coming out from that team.
Well, I know there's going to be one very happy, excited Australian, so let's head over to the arena for Slow to Play versus Rusty Hyena Clan with Tien and Wingnut.
I'm in heaven, boys. There's two Vindicators. Let's go. All right, we've got a triple step near autocannon rush versus a double Vindicator comp. I'm so happy. It's got a backup carries as well, but they're going to be brawled down. And while I do love my Vindicators, I'm a little worried they might get absolutely murdered here. What do you think, Tian?
That's going to be an interesting match here. We have high damage versus high damage. Those Vindicators are indeed blasted fit. We're going to have so much damage here on grid. The autocannon high damage potential right into those blasters with the strength bonus reps of the Vindicators. So those Lightners will suffer, I think. I think they
Yep.
can
Don't
just
don't
roll
blink.
right
Don't
through
go to the
it
toilet.
on the
Do
other
not go
side.
get a coffee. This match is going to end in seconds. This is going to be ridiculous. All right, match is underway. Let's go.
Let's see. Okay, yeah, red team does what I kind of wait. What? Blue team is putting back actually.
The Vindicators are pulling
There's the
back.
red
What
team a
is
bit.
this cowardly smart stuff? That's not allowed. Both teams are pulling back. What is this
You're
double
supposed to go
cowardly
full.
smart stuff?
You
Hold
are
on a
supposed
minute.
to go
Hold on a
full
minute. What's
in.
going on here, guys? Hey, I was promised blood and death, and you're both running away.
We see Jones
What?
chasing Jones here.
What in the?
Okay, blue seems to wait. Does red rush? Do they follow up with their name? Is it a rush comp? Are they gonna rush or no?
So the thing is, actually, the Slepians can use barrage and other guns and shoot beyond what the Vindicators can shoot. So they can just harass and
Yes,
hooray and start doing damage. So they don't have to go in. Doesn't mean they
pretty
shouldn't.
much pretty much the only chance they have, to be honest, I'd say, because if they go in close, they're just gonna melt and those Vindicators their damage. But yeah, now the Vindicator is leading the charge, going in, trying to web something down, and
Yeah, they're starting to try
let's
and pressure the deacons here. So far, the
okay.
deacons are holding. I want to see if any drones are being killed by stuff. Keeping an eye on the jackdaws and who they're shooting at. But at the moment,
Yeah.
I'm not. I can't. It's hard to spot when a drone goes down, so it's very hard to keep an eye on that. But I, I think we're going to see
all,
a lot of
all,
drone death here.
yeah, all three technos are now completely pinned down.
Oh,
So
Firestar and the
probably in
Hugan.
a
He's not.
second we
He's
will
starting to get
see
primary
that.
now as well.
Yeah, that Hugan is taking a lot of damage. It's not really known for its huge amounts of armor tank. I mean, it can be armor fitted, but it has a huge spread of replicants. I just realized that, all supporting that one little Hugan. It seems to be stabilizing quite well here, while we see a lot of damage on the Keris, though.
Well, that
We're
Kerry's
gonna
did
have to
actually
see if they
pull
can
away from
actually keep
his
up.
friends there. He's quite a distance away. They could maybe snap him up, but I think he's going to get back in time. This is not what I was expecting from
Yeah,
these comps, guys. I was expecting face melting blaster rush. Never mind, they're in. Here we go. It started.
yeah.
Party time.
Now RS dies as the Vagabond is already being forced to use its accidental charges because taking a lot of damage. But so is the Vindicator here. I'm actually surprised how well this Minotaur Rush is doing against these huge, big damage
Oh
blaster
yeah,
ships, the
this is.
Vindicators.
I think my math could be entirely wrong. I'm just going off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure this is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 3 to 3,500 DPS that is just ripping into these Vindicators. So while they've got a lot of tank and damage, this is a lot of damage incoming.
Yeah, and we shouldn't ignore the low end with Double Hound here, actually, which are quite squishy, but at the moment they seem to be quite out of harm's way, just taking drone damage, I think. Yeah, it's just drones on them. So it's going to be interesting.
Come on,
Those hounds
Vindicators.
do a lot
Come
of
on,
damage.
kill him.
And
Yeah, one
okay,
down.
Vagabond gets volleyed. Vagabond gets straight volleyed through his axle. And the side could really not do anything. And they continue with that barrage of damage and they just treat the second
The
Vagabond very
second
well.
Vagabond is directly within Vindicator web range. He's been webbed by two Vindis, so he will die very quickly as they both are now sitting at 0 speed and shooting him. So if they can kill the
And it
second
looks,
Vagabond, they can maybe start tanking this until the answer
yes,
runs out.
especially with the Hound going down. That Hound is now down due to Jones and being tackled by the Thunder
Boom!
I think it was. And the Vagabond dies. So maybe SF Razor can now actually uh, start tanking again in his Vindicator.
Come on, boys. You can do it. I believe in you. Now they're going for a
SF is
slap
actually
in. Look how much
slowly clawing
damage
back
they
his
do when they
armor.
hit. They almost volley his
Yeah,
shields in
it's
one go.
crazy. Lightning is really suffering here. It definitely has to run through its XL charges. And that second hand is now also really suffering and it goes down, so even more damage just gone from the battlefield. I think
This
that
is
the
this is
Vindicator
starting to
now
look very good for my
surely can
favorite ship.
stabilize.
Come on, boys. Look at the
The
giant ball
Jackdaws
of
are taking the drone damage, so those drones just keep chasing the low end and doing all they can. And yeah, that Vindicator is stabilizing, and that let me won't be long for this world because I said it again.
He said the words.
because
Okay, well, as he said the words,
because I
that
think
Sleipnir
that
is
answer
going
will
into
be
low
gone
shields.
soon, and the South won't be able to keep that Sleipnir up. I don't think so, at least.
Yeah, Slow did very well with this, using the range of their Sleipnir to start harassing and haraying the opposing team. I did miss the point when the Vindicators went in, or they went on the Vindicators. But the moment that happened, this all fell apart. As now the Sleipnir is about to go down. At that point, it's game. They can't break through anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. After the first second, when the Sleipnirs decided to go in and try to do something with Barrage potentially, the Vindicators decided to turn around and just go for it. And that Hugin really made the difference for them here because they don't only have the bonus Vindicator webs, they also have the long range webs on the Hugin. So even if they can't get close right away, they still have some power over a great distance.
Yeah, that Hugin long web is definitely a very potent combo when you mix with these double Vindicators, and they are just ripping through. Also, the Scythe, no one has been personally going to kill it until recently. The Scythe was just kind of slowly dying to drones. That's kind of the weakness about it. It has one XLASB and a dream. That's all it can really do. It's gonna
Yeah,
die
I
to
think that's
drones. It's gonna die to drones.
think that's mostly the arbitrators, maybe Hugin, maybe Vindicator Jones even, and that Scythe goes down just like that. And now it's just
Maybe
two
someone was
Sleipnirs
shooting
and
it,
two
but
Jackdaws versus the world.
maybe someone was
Bit
shooting it, but
surprised at those
all I saw
Jackdaws.
was drones there, which makes it even funnier.
Yeah, same. I'm a bit surprised that those Jackdaws didn't go to help out the Scythe by defanging some of those drones. But okay, yeah, Sleipnir gets bullied. I think it's time for it to die.
Yep. Yep. Oh yeah.
One more, and it's gone. Same time as that
This is gonna
Jackdaw
be
just
clean.
gets bullied. This is going to be 13 versus 200 point match. So they just
I'm
lost that
so
one little
happy.
Paris at the beginning.
All right, guys, now we need to maintain this now. Vindicator, AT21, 100% win rate. I can promise that, guaranteed. Please don't test it. We want to leave it here. We want to be ahead.
I'm also really surprised because I just realized Dresky was actually 1 point down at the beginning of this. So that's why Slow actually has 13 point advantage, even though they only lost to Keras, which is worth 12 points. So with 1 point less, they still have this huge, super strong comp, and they just came and wrecked everyone. That last Sleipnir is melting. I think it's going down here.
Yeah,
Yep,
there
there
we
it
go.
goes. And I think with that, we can send it back to the studio for some analysis on that amazing brawl.
Slow Chosen at play, taking the W there over Rusty Hyena's clan. There's our other way around. I'm just used to reading that red wins. I thought that was the script that CCP Zulus passed me, but apparently he's changing the script. So in fact, Rusty Hyena Clan wins this one over Slow Chosen at play. That was some classic historical AT play, and by that I don't mean world beating. I mean those were just old comps. That was like watching like the really old ATs when it was just Rush versus Rush. You had the Blaster Rush, classic Galente Rush, basically almost into a classic Mimitar Rush there. And of course, Mystical Might, what's the first thing you do in a Rush comp? That's right, you burn away. So how did that match go for both of those teams there?
Moderator moment. I think that um, the slow team really did have a chance at winning at the very beginning of the match. I think that unfortunately they just weren't able to break through the Vindicator in time before they managed to lose both of their Vagabonds. I I think it's very difficult to determine exactly what went wrong for the slow team. There were a bunch of like minor things that I noticed, like at some points the Sleipnirs were burning around so much that they ended up flying like 10 kilometers from the Vindicator when it was very low in armor. That's time spent not doing your optimal amount of damage, which may have helped break through the Vindicator at the very end. But I think it was a very minor thing. I'm not sure really if they could have really done much more besides just shooting those Vindicators. Maybe trying to clear some of the remote reps coming in as well by forcing the remote reps in close while they were shooting the Vindy, swapping to that while they still had their 5 DPS ships, and then swapping back to the Vindicator once those were down.
Yeah, I mean, two Vindicators surviving is going to give a nice healthy boost to the stats of the Vindicator. I think we have a graph. Maybe we can throw that up here. So this is the historical use of the Vindicator in Alliance tournament matches. You can definitely see some spikes back in ye olden days. And it hasn't been so popular the last couple of years, in fact, declining. But two Vindicators fielded today, two surviving, is definitely a solid start. And of course, they more often die than survive. So these two are actually beating the odds. And actually winning as well is unusual for the Vindicator. It's big, it's bold, it's brash, but it does lose a lot. Now, I want to shout out the two arbitrators on the Rusty Hyena Clan side. I think they were doing a lot of really important work for those two Vindicators essentially by just tracking, disrupting the Sleipnirs all the way down and just really reducing the range that they're going to be able to be effective at. Nova, do you think that without those arbitrators, maybe this has gone the other way?
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible. It was really interesting early on when we did see those Sleipnirs just immediately turn tail and seemingly run, because I think, oh, like at that moment at least, I was thinking, wait, did we get this wrong? Are these artillery even? But it was a good call from the commentators as well that they had realized if they reload to barrage, they can actually stay outside of the Vindicator range. But then they also become much more vulnerable to those tracking disruptors from the arbitrators. So I think they had a couple moments of realization. I saw them actually get at range. They reloaded to a different ammo type, started shooting that different ammo type, and then ended up a few seconds later realizing they had to burn in. At which point they then again had to reload to a different ammo type. So potentially without those few pauses, it could have been a big deal. At least in the ability of potentially breaking through one of those vindicators. And yeah, I think the arbitrators are one of the reasons why they ended up making those decisions to then close in, even having to swap ammo in order to do so again.
This day, we don't see the classic rushes so often these days, especially unusual to see rush into rush. Why do you think that that's kind of fallen out of vogue a little bit?
I think it's partly because there's so many different options that you can bring. I know that people may feel like their options are limited nowadays when they can only bring like 15 different comps to that are really strong in their own rights. But I think historically, I mean, the amount of comps that people could really bring were fairly limited at the time. So I think nowadays, because there's so much variety, there's so many different comps that can project out fairly well. You got the medium gun spams, you have the multiple battleship comps, like the cruise typhoons that we saw earlier today, for example. Um, when you're playing Rush, you effectively put all of your ships on one target, and then you have to burn over to the next target, and then the next one. So if you spread all of your ships out, you have that travel time in between, which you have to contend with as well. Um, but alongside that, I also think that the different points that we find year on year with the slight tweaks that are made by CCP Zealous means that people are more willing to try newer comps and try and see if different things work than they are to just fall back on the rush comp every single time, especially as it has to change every single year. It's not just something that you can pull out of retirement and go, we're going to slap that in and that's going to work immediately. You have to tweak it. You have to consider which elements you want to keep, and then obviously use it. In this particular case, I would have said that a Cenotaph, double Nighthawk, double Loki would have been better, but I think the Cenotaph was banned, so
think so.
wouldn't have been an option. They could have done triple Nighthawk, and that still would have been effective on points. And I think I would have favored that more than the Sleipnir. I don't think the Sleipnir is necessarily the apex rush ship that it used to be.
But
I
in
agree
this
with
case,
that.
I believe both the Loki and Nighthawk were also banned. So
Yeah.
I think there was a situation that was really interesting that happened with the bans and how that ended up playing out, where they left the Cenotaph ban to the very end, and then there was that long pause that we saw the other team then decide whether they wanted to ban it or not. It was possible they were just looking through and then seeing, do I have a rush comp with the Cenotaph that I feel is viable? And is there a substantial risk of running into then essentially a coin flip mirror match, for example, of just two AC rushes even with a Cenotaph, and they decided they would rather play something else and not have to deal with the Cenotaph. They ban it, and then the team that ended up banning out Ham Rush said, "You're not going to expect our rush now. We're just going to bring an AC rush." Um, Interesting, yeah, metagaming there, I think, but yeah, didn't quite work out.
Yeah. I think the rush is also a pretty good entry comp in terms of execution skill for maybe newer teams with less experience. It doesn't require that much big brain thinking to hit approach F1. And when it works, it does work. it is one of those things as well that as teams get better and more experienced, pretty much any comp should be able to survive against a rush. Either you screen people off or you reposition. You should always know how to defend against a rush. But it is also just a great starter comp. It's not too difficult to fit up. It's not too difficult to execute. And sometimes, in theory, the other team should almost always win against a rush if they're doing it right. But theory never quite works out, and all it takes is one person to, mess up. For example, we saw a Golem earlier on just apparently forget to run his booster and died. So all you have to rely on people making mistakes, but people make mistakes a lot. Turns out we're all really bad at this game.